Utie oha echi ponkno. Needs FM.
Right. And
so the debt, but then what have we used the borrowing for?
I'm not the right person to answer those questions. But all I know is that, if you take, there's some idea of it. We won't say all of it is questionable, definitely not. You have things like national identification. This is a bond, which was given to national identification, Maslow, 95 million. National identification, 285 million. Infrastructure for poverty eradication. Planting for food, 300 million. National forestation, 47.5 million. One district, one factory, 95 million. Aluminium integration, 19 million. Other education requirement, code name, 3SHS, 200 million. This has gone up, this was 2018. This has gone up to 2.2 billion in the sovereign bond issuance. So in essence, we are borrowing to support education. And we are borrowing to support one district, one factory. We are borrowing. Yes, I already said that some borrowing, for capital expenditure in particular is good. But for heaven's sake, don't tell me in a campaign that you won't borrow to do those things. These are
because the money is here.
Right. So this gives us some idea, which you have to give to Parliament, as all of us did. And it's clear, where the borrowing is going. You can see very minimal infrastructure, that is taking place.
Do you have an idea the level of our debt?
We are currently, as at the end of 2016, at the end of 2016, we have about 55.7%. It increased with the adjustment that the IMF did, right from 2017 to about 56%. So it never went down, as the graph is showing. And then at the end of 2019, it's 63%, of GDP. And by the end of March, it was estimated to be in excess of 65-66% already.
And what does it tell us?
Well, the prediction is that going by the end of the year is going to be 70% or 73% of GDP. But we are being told that, these are all on account of COVID. And we are saying from all this, you can see that most of the expenditures that we are talking about are not COVID expenditures.
But gloomy pictures in the book and fairy tales on the airwaves. Is the NDC not able to counter and object and come out with the real figures as you are doing now? Because we are hoodwinked into believing what, as you put, may not be accurate after all.
But remember, our minority in Parliament had said a lot. Sometimes immediately a government comes into power and is enjoying goodwill and other things. When you are talking, it sounds like sour grapes. Right? Even when what you are saying is technical, and you are not even adding any, you are not polishing it with political language and for whatever. With the middle class professors and others, it sounds as such. But I believe that the message is now coming out clearly that there's something fundamentally wrong, because you can't be having unprecedented consolidation and be borrowing at the pace at which we are borrowing. Remember, let me repeat again for the benefit of our, let me use the household again. It's like having a joint account, right? And then it can be either way. You see the statement and you see that your overdraft is increasing, and then the partner says, "Oh, it's fine, we're all right. It's okay." Can't you see that we don't even spend much? We are tightening the belt and whatever, but some expenditure is taking place outside the house, right? Which is not fully disclosed. And so ultimately the borrowing will tell you whether you are actually consolidating or you are not consolidating. And I think that the message is coming out clear. And the attempt to put it all under COVID. And let me explain. The budget that was sent to, the supplementary budget that was sent to Parliament, right? The media review gave 11 billion as the money that is needed.
For what?
The increase. Remember when we were discussing supplementary budget, I said that for
the shortfall that you have to add up to.
Which it was given as 11 billion. Out of that, the composition of how that we arrive at that 11 billion is one, COVID, 11 billion. So 11 billion minus 11 billion is what? Zero.
Zero.
Yet still, we needed 4 billion more to pay for interest. Why? Because we were not paying down, the loans. We were just deferring the sovereign bonds and whatever. When you defer, you continue paying
when
the
they
interest.
were due.
When they were due, yes. So we now have to, like we took it off from the sinking fund. No, it wasn't that. So you continue paying the interest. That's why the graph I showed you is going up, right? So that's 4 billion. Then you needed another 400 million, nearly 500 million additional money to pay wages and salaries, right? So in addition to the becoming zero, we are now talking about an additional, 4 billion plus 4.5, and then some other minor expenditures. Where did we get that money? How did we make up, for paying for wages and all those things, which has increased?
Or is it a question you are posting, or you know where it came from?
Well, it came from capping, airport tax, capping NHI, capping Get Fund, despite education and
how did it impact on the
obviously those sectors are not going to have the benefit of that money, right? And it is but remember the 11 billion, right, is money which Parliament approved already in March and April. But in March and April, when the minister went to Parliament and said we need 11 billion more, it was 9.5 for COVID. It wasn't through a supplementary budget. So if he's now going to Parliament with a supplementary budget, then he's now accounting for that approval which Parliament gave already. Right? He's now accounting for it. And so the actual increase in expenditure is COVID taken care of from the loans that we have taken, and non-COVID, which is interest payment, and the interest payment of 4 billion, and then additional payment for wages and salaries.
On the back of all these that you are saying, citizens are enjoying free water, free electricity, our 50% electricity, small loans for businesses to restart, transferred payments for persons who have lost their jobs, and then also a reduction of the communication service tax from 9% to 5%.
I thought it was increased from 6% to 9%.
And now,
let's not forget, it was increased first
from 6
to 9%.
And now from 9% back to lower than the 6% at 5%. What have you got to say to that?
Again, remember, what I said during crisis. I don't want to diminish crisis like the way other crises have been diminished. Like one of the tests that we got said, you did not perform well, forgetting about the context of the global financial crisis. I'm not about to do that, right? And so let me give the government the benefit of the doubt that during crisis, you borrow. During crisis, you draw on your stabilization fund. During crisis, you do many things to help the people. And I would be hypocritical in saying that when we had our doomsday crisis, right, that was when subsidy went up against the background of single spine, right, which led to VRA and others, the energy sector, having a very heavy, burden on the banking sector, and which gave rise to ESLA and others. So these expenditures, this type of expenditures are things which normally, happen, right? But what we are saying is that we should be very open. Excuse me. What we are saying is that there is a need to commit to those expenditures. But having said, as I said, a certain humbling is required in telling Ghanaians that all these are not really from budget revenues. They are from loans which we are going to be paying. And that's the reason why the debt is going up. Right? That's the reason why the debt is going up. And also admitting that we should have put money in the stabilization fund. We should have accounted better for the oil revenues in order that this situation would have been better handled. This is the point that we are making. And that's thirdly and finally, we shouldn't be putting all of it in the name of COVID. That certain mistakes were made and are being corrected. And we are pointed to those corrections. I think I've spent time talking about those that were left out, from bailout to others which are now being corrected. We shouldn't be sweeping all of this, under the COVID carpet.
Right. Let me read some messages.
Wotie Oha Extreme Punk no. Needs FM.